hello. So, it doesn't look like my little chat window is working here. But that's fine because I have 0 viewers anyway, so I don't really give a shit.
I know.
Alright, hey.
Lazy. I mean, I could bother Zan to come into the chat, maybe.
Hey, Chloe. Yeah, I mean, that's up to you. Do you mind just saying something quickly and just making sure my audio is working?
Testing.
Cool.
Audio.
Yes, it looks like everything except my little chat window is working. And I'm not really sure why. I think I can bring it back open here. Let's see if that fixes it. Oh, it did fix it. Cool. Hooray. I'll just type that there in chat as well. Cool. Oh, it looks like, I'm learning new stuff. It looks like if I type into the... I can choose between typing directly to the Twitch or YouTube. But if I type into Restream, it actually shows it to both chats, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
But yeah, how are you doing today? What have you been up to?
Me? Most of the day was spending anxious because I saw a fruit fly in the kitchen and proceeded to purge the kitchen.
Because of one fruit fly?
And then not be able to eat. Well, it was more than one. They were just hovering around the garbage that I may have forgotten to take out.
Okay, well, I think I might know why you had a fly problem in that case.
No way.
But yeah, no, I went and saw my dad today. I wheeled him around in his little wheelchair. And he was telling me about how he's had erectile dysfunction since he was 57. He's 65 now. And he's like, oh yeah, you getting any pussy, son? And I'm like...
Oh,
and he's telling me about when he used to pop Viagra and go to brothels, but
sounds like a good time.
Yeah, so fun context for anyone who ends up listening to this at some stage in the 10 years in the future when I may ever become relevant.
What? My mom asked me similar things, just not in that direct way.
Oh, do you have a boyfriend? Are you being a proper girl, a proper woman? Like that way?
Ew. Yeah, kinda, like, or are you interested in anyone recently?
Do you like men?
Do you like men at all? And then brings up the topic of grandchildren and marriage?
Nice, yeah. Whenever I see my cousins, they always ask, oh, do you have a girlfriend? Do you have a girlfriend? I'm like, bitch, when I get a woman I'm actually interested in, I'll bring her back to the fam and get married. Don't worry. But yeah, I mean, with our crazy ass families, I'm sure we could speak for a very long time if we needed to about them. But we're here today for other nerdy shit. So, the world of magic is the class that I'm currently working on. So we did a little bit of dabbling at the schools of magic, kind of just generalizing what they actually do. So I decided we don't need to do like an extensive research into how all of this shit kind of works at this stage. We're just doing a bit of a generalization of a synopsis for each of these classes, so students kind of know what they'll be getting into before they get into it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Kind of like the course outline in a way, but a little less detailed.
Yes, because in all honesty, you don't really need detail for this kind of shit, so it is what it is. In any case, now we are going to be moving on to magic in daily life. So when you were chatting with me just yesterday, that's the one you were interested in predominantly.
Yes, that's right.
Cool. And I thought a little bit about this, but I would say like there probably aren't like an excessive number of mages in this world. I'd say they're like a precious commodity. I'd say more uncommon than rare, but I'm thinking like in terms of like having your own personal pocket mage who kind of follows you around and does what you want when you want. That's not what I'm talking about in terms of like magic in daily life. I'm thinking the kind of magic people might encounter in their day-to-day life is more so the magic engineering variety, if that makes sense. So this will probably kind of dabble a bit more in educating people on the quality of life advances that magic engineering has brought to the world. And I'm thinking,
For example, like self-lighting fires.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So in this case, the kind of thought process I'm at least having is that this nation itself being based on like a French nation, I wouldn't say they're necessarily a poor nation, but I would say the common class in general probably doesn't have the means to be able to afford this these magical engineering artifacts to like keep for convenience in their own homes. So I'm thinking these are more, since this is like a state-run magic institute, I kind of imagine the state has their own like magical engineering firm as well. So what they probably like to do is, I would say, basically have like public sources of magic engineering, like the self-lighting lanterns throughout the city, maybe some kind of heating or cooling and like better established restaurants for like high quality food and whatever. But yeah,
Water
nothing
fountain?
really.
Or like a public bathhouse?
Well, maybe like a sauna or yeah, like a hot spring, but not like a cold water thing, because they pretty much have to have water already available.
Right.
Yeah, so hopefully that gives a bit of idea of what we're working with now.
Along the lines of what I assumed it would be about.
Yes. So let's see. We haven't really come up with a name for the school or the nation or the continent as of yet, so we're just going to use temporary names for now. But daily life in the country of France benefits greatly from the conveniences of magic engineering in day-to-day life. But magic itself and mages, being the precious commodity that they are, limits these magical conveniences to the higher or upper class and public facilities. So we'll just put in brackets there. Commoners don't have access to magic engineering artifacts within their own homes. So, examples of magic artifacts. Yeah, we'll call it artifacts like that for now. Examples of magic artifacts that the people of the magic nation benefit from in day life are auto lighting the streets when dark. Example, self-lighting lanterns. That's from thermodynamics. Well, ideally, try to come up with an example for like one of each school. So, kinematics being like force, movement, motion. How would we want to think about that?
They express like highway roads for the carts. Like roads where you walk at your normal speed.
See, I don't imagine the road itself would move, but it would be something that would like accelerate the movement of whatever's like being carried upon. I think like I kind of get what you're saying, but I think there would be like a very large scale kind of full-on infrastructure project, and I'm not fully sure as of yet how advanced I want the city to be, especially in comparison to like neighboring cities, but I'd say in terms of like magic cities in general, this will probably be the best of the best, the top of the top. So I think maybe we do want to kind of like push it more towards the upper end of the spectrum, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be every road, it could just be like one road to the ruler's place. Or like that cuts through the main part of the city.
Yeah, like no, because I do get what you're saying, but the thing is, in terms of like movement or travel throughout the city, if we are going to have like some shuttles or anything that kind of accelerate movement, I'm thinking of leaning more into the electromagnetism side for that, and having basically like a giant ring around the city and like giant highways through the city, which is just like these metallic rails, and you have this basically this metallic pod that kind of travels along it like a linear rail with electromag. Because I think that'll make it a much more futuristic feeling city and a much more magical city as well.
Is that the intention, to merge more futuristic aspects with magic, or is this more of a medieval setting?
Well, the world itself as a whole at large is going to be more like medieval fantasy, but different parts are going to be medieval, different parts are going to be fantasy, different parts are going to be more magical. And since this is basically the epitome of magic, I would say this is going to probably be like a very futuristic feeling city, even by today's modern standards, if that makes sense.
I suppose.
And I also just think that the concept or the idea of those like electromag pods just sounds fucking cool. Because it's definitely something that wouldn't be anywhere else in the world. Except maybe they have a little bit of a electromag highway rail in between the Night City and the Magic City for the express purposes of their joint communion or something.
Yes. And would this rail be running all the time, or only at certain hours?
I would say it might not even be like for public use. It could only be maybe for the upper echelon, because again, it's like it being such a valuable and precious commodity or resource or whatever you want to call it. They probably may not be so intent on people being able to use it willy-nilly, except
With students
within
being
the
able
city.
to use it freely?
I would say people can use the pods within the city freely, but I would say the pods in between the two cities is probably limited to like VIP special guest visits and maybe like the exchange students between schools, so like massive events or festivals, and for like high value trades, and for the sending of like emergency goods or people or whatever.
Building the fanfiction idea now, someone is definitely sneaking onto this pod.
Oh,
Or
for
sneaking into this
sure.
pod to try and visit someone from the other city.
For sure. There's definitely a story there, but I'm imagining just like a single rail and maybe like a single pod that goes between the cities as necessary, or maybe like two pods and they kind of keep one on either side at all times. But yeah, so that's the electromag idea. So maybe let's do the electromagnetism side first. So let's see. Electro mag rails within the city that levitated pods slide along quickly via electromagnetism for transport of people and goods. A linear highway exists between the Magic City and the City of Knights for VIPs, emergency situations, and high value trade goods. Cool. So still got to do something kind of similar or different for kinematics, and then something for optics and acoustics as well. And the interesting thing with optics is maybe we can do optics as the lighting throughout the city instead of thermodynamics, because while thermodynamics would in theory be able to like heat something up to create fire, there would have to be like some kind of resource inside these lanterns to burn to produce the flames, basically. Whereas
and you can use it more for the heating instead, like for the cooling, heating of the maintained temperatures around the city.
Yeah. So
and then for acoustics, you could do like a citywide announcement thingy. What do you call it? Speakers, almost.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. Yeah. So let's just edit the thermodynamics one first. So thermodynamics applies heating and cooling insulation to critical infrastructure / significant public buildings, government buildings, the magic institution, high ranking nobles, wealthy merchants, etc. Cool, so the people in power get all that stuff. Alrighty, and then we have the optics allows for the production of self-lighting, and that's going to be in little rabbit ears there, because even though it's lighting, it's light, not flame. So self-lighting lanterns that produce pure light with no dangerous flames or smoke / emission. So it's a pretty clean city as well in that sense, I would say. Acoustics allows for the transmission of voice, particularly alarms or transmission of sound, particularly alarms or voice via microphones and announcement systems used to convey information unmasked quickly and efficiently. Cool, so if they get invaded, they can like tell the entire city.
Mm-hmm. Or just for, I don't know, advertisements of certain events, like the sports or the pool events even.
So you'll have
you can do it locally within certain areas.
Yeah, so with the sport events, you'll have like an announcer using one. Cool. Mm-hmm. So we just need something for kinematics now. So let's review what we've kind of put down for the description of kinematics. So it's the motion of objects without considering the forces that causes the motion. Focuses on the positions, velocity, and acceleration of objects and how these quantities change over time. Interestingly, there's an argument there to put it in conjunction with like the rail network system, because maybe that is a development of the combination of the two different magic types. Like the electromag keeps the pods elevated and it reduces wear and tear from using them as transit, and the kinematics actually like moves them around.
Right. I was thinking, you know those games where you have to unstuck the cars and the taxis by moving them around?
Lockout or gridlock or whatever.
Yeah, that. What if that could be done, but with the city? Like certain areas of the city.
Oh my god.
Are chunked together.
Like it's gonna be a modular city. The city itself is modular and the infrastructure can be changed or moved depending on the people's needs. That sounds absolutely insane. I kind of love it. I don't know why they would do it, but it sounds really cool.
It could be really good for like development if they want to add new areas, or if they want to.
It allows them to expand.
Or even for like
the
defense
city
as well.
Yeah, so like the original city could be just like a ringed wall, and as they kind of expand over time, they just literally move the city.
Yeah, instead of having to rebuild everything.
The city itself and the buildings and infrastructure within it were based on a modular design. Allows the city to be redeveloped accordingly to the city's advancing needs. The city walls themselves, the buildings within them, are all built atop a series of blocks that do not stand connected, but can be pushed and pulled around within the city as required. Example, significant nobles get pushed towards the city center, and insignificant nobles get pushed towards the exterior.
And as their significance changes, they
their position
might be able to
changes.
swap spots in like more better land.
Exactly.
Fuck, what's the word? Prime real estate areas.
Correct. So this will be a very political city, I'd say, being a city of mages. They have like arrogance and an air of authority and entitlement. There's probably going to be a lot of inspiration from like French noble houses of old and all that too. So they might be a bit pompous in that sense. So this will create like big political discord. And the cool thing is, I don't know about you, but I don't know if I've personally ever encountered like any kind of fantasy setting where something like that has ever happened.
Where you can move the city around?
Yeah. I mean, I know there's that thing where the
Like,
cities
there's
themselves are
similar
on
things.
fucking wheels, but that's fucking stupid.
Yeah. Agreed.
But
I mean, maybe you could add that in though, so that the whole city can also relocate as needed.
I mean, I don't know about that. I would say yeah, maybe they've kind of like dug out a foundation or like grooves within the city itself beneath it that they can kind of like move things around in.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we'll flesh that out a bit more whenever we get to the actual city itself. But hear me out. The interior of the school could be based on a similar design, so they could have like bits inside that kind of move around, like the classrooms move or whatever, like the moving staircases in Harry Potter or something.
So it's not just the city itself, but like big important buildings
Maybe,
can also
maybe.
be changed around.
Yeah, like the whole thing's modular. Allows them to redeploy,
like, prisons,
repurpose.
libraries.
Yeah. So like if an interior
Expand.
room gets burnt down for some reason, they can move the fire away from the room that's on fire away from like other important locations or something. It can be a very big security thing too.
Yeah, or even just isolating maybe even blocks that are on fire. So that it doesn't spread past that block, kind of like a fire break.
Yeah.
Because
with how this modular city would have to work, there'd have to be like blank gaps somewhere for things to be able to shuffle and move around. So they could literally have like large sections of completely blank area that they can, move around to isolate.
And it would be nice for like festivals or wildlife or outdoor kind of events.
They can block off sections of the city without actually having to like.
But then also in those blank spaces is where you can hold those carnival-y events that are more temporary.
Yeah. So there's quite a lot that we can do with something like that, which makes it sound pretty insanely crazy. I mean, it's a fun concept for now, but I'm gonna have to revisit that later when we develop the city itself, just to make sure it's like not too insane, if that makes sense. But it kind of fits the vibe of the city being like a bit high-tech, futuristic kind of, like with the electromagnetic vibe too, because it's literally like a city of the future.
But it's not super high-tech in the way that it feels like a cyberpunk world or some kind of other type of world.
Yes, so it feels like fascinating within its worldview itself, because like theoretically I could see something like that technically existing in today's day and age. It'd be expensive as shit, but I think like it'd be possible. Maybe.
But with magic. With magic, and then
instead of technology,
it feels a lot more feasible. And then there's to be like one person whose job is to move everything around, like the blockist expert.
Oh my god, no! I'm just imagining like your worldviews, like fire guys, and they're like doing all these. They have this like super powerful ability, but they're seen as just like menial janitorial labor. But yeah. All right. I think that's good for the magic in daily life section, because that's like just going to be a basic class to educate people on the workings of the magic they've experienced in daily life within the city up until that point, and just teaching them the workings of it all to help like understand the magic systems. But
that makes sense, because they're also all things that they would have come across.
Yes. So next up is going to be magic in the environment. So this is basically going to be fonts of power that exist naturally within the world that have high densities of mana, and I would say strong properties of the respective schools of magic. For example, a glacier slash volcano for thermodynamics.
Wait, what if there is an ice volcano?
Sure. I mean, there's probably going to be something like that somewhere in the world.
Yeah.
I don't. If that's going to be anywhere, I would say that would end up being on the northern continent.
Oh,
So
true.
it won't be. It won't be. In the central continent where all the mages are. So that could be like a mission or an expedition for a future thing that they could go on at a higher level, because it does seem like a more advanced area.
And it coughs up like snowstorms and slush instead of lava and ash smoke.
Yeah, who knows? Like, you could see burning water or like molten ice. Oh yeah, you just see like this river of like slushy, watery ice which like burns everything. But it's like freeze burn.
Yeah, like it's so cold that it
Yeah.
feels like it burns in a way.
So I'd have to come up with like a few ideas for environments for kinematics and optics and acoustics things. So I'm thinking some kind of kinematics forest where leaves don't fall or fly away with the breeze. Oh yeah, like some kind of time stop forest. Everything looks like it's frozen in time. That's just because it doesn't move by normal means. Like the things that can be moved, but they can only be moved via kinematics, not like the wind or anything. And that could be, I think we were talking a bit before about like the games that they might do, like the sports, and that we came up with like a 3D pool. This could be like the location where they find these the balls to use in 3D pool. There's like some kind of fruit or berry or something that just stays motionless in space unless moved by this kinematics force.
And then some other mage kind of puts some spell on it so that when one interacts with the other,
yeah, they just like
some special effect.
Knock away. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now optics and acoustics. I imagine some kind of cave for acoustics.
Cave.
Oh yeah, some kind of hallucination thing would be cool for optics, but
yeah, or like you move one step and it looks completely different from like your previous step.
Like I'm imagining some kind of hall of mirrors. So like when you wherever you look, like everything's like distorted, or it's really difficult to tell where you are. You know, like those fun houses full of like those distorted mirrors that kind of fuck with your eyes with the bending of light.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. But like naturally occurring.
Yeah.
Cave of sound where sound amplified and bounces / no sound exists at all.
Reminds me of like an echoing, what do you call them? Oh no. Words. Like what are those really long holes in the ground? Kind of like
holes.
the Grand Canyon, but not.
Valleys, canyons.
No. Oh no, what's the word? It can't be rift, can it? Fissure?
I mean, yeah, I mean there's a lot of words for it. There's a lot of different types of tears and holes in the ground, like craters.
Echoing fissure. Like the thin one like that characters in shows say echo, echo, echo into and it echoes their voice
Yeah, yeah,
throughout the
something like that.
entire chapter.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
I don't remember where I was going with that point anymore.
That's okay, I kind of got you. Okay. I like that. I don't know if I needed to, like, separate some of this stuff as I have, but, I'm happy with it for now, for the most part. Are you working on anything while I'm, dabbling in this?
I was slightly distracted, so I only now just finished rereading over part 1 of chapter 1 of the story I was writing.
Nice.
And I'm currently procrastinating writing the next part.
Well, do you want to maybe share it with us?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to share it with us?
As in what happened in the first part?
Do
or
you
what
want
happened in the
to
second part?
read the story?
Out loud on a stream.
That's okay. No one's watching. Literally.
Yeah. True. Other than me, just so I can see what you're saying. Sure. Why not? I don't think I only read out loud a couple of this for edit wise. Let's see how's this. Okay. So we start with in italics because it's not something that's actually happening in the scene. It's just kind of like an extra tidbit.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is so cringe to say out loud. Oh no.
How about I say something a lot cringer out loud, which will make you feel more comfortable?
You know what? It's not that cringe. It just feels cringe.
Oh, because it's
To
something
say
you've
these
made.
words.
Bro, I'm fucking
It is
streaming
very
everything that I'm
vague.
doing. You'll be fine.
Hurry, my child. You must flee to Elenglace before it's too late. Oh, so cringe. Yes, that was
Not
the
at
part in
all. Be
italics.
proud of yourself.
Which is pretty much kind of the message that the main character received from their deity before booking it onto this, or like running away and coming across this wagon.
Or
That's
booking
currently
it
going
onto
missing.
this, before booking it onto this maglev train and fleeing to the other city to see his cute little mage boy.
If only.
Exactly.
And then we get to the first scene where the main character doesn't actually speak at all, and you don't know he's the main character yet. Oh, it feels so cringe to write it out loud. I can't.
That's okay. That's okay.
Give me a sec. I must prepare my forget everything filter.
Well, while you do that, I'm thinking the magic in the
Oh.
environment class may, rather than having like events separate from classes, I'm thinking that the magic in the environment class would have field trips to the environmental locations.
Like as the class.
Yeah. And I'm thinking maybe
How would that work timing wise for getting back to your other classes that same day?
well, I'm not sure if you were here for the thing, but basically how I intend on doing it is modern learning and educational systems are stupid. Basically, what I'm thinking is having like one condensed specialized class per semester, basically, which like really allows you to sink in and focus on just this one kind of thing. And
Right.
basically, by just focusing on the one thing, they don't have to worry about anything outside of it. There is going to be this other thing I do later on, where like basically the half the day is like the mandatory class, and then the other half of the day is free time where they can do whatever the hell they want in terms of like practicing or like joining clubs and everything like that. But if we do all of
Visiting their
the
little...
yes, so if we do all of
Sorry, continue.
these expeditions in the first year or whatever, it gives a reason for the first years to not really be in the clubs, or they can be in clubs where they can just like practice on their own, like practicing their magical capacity or whatever. And I was thinking the same for like the second and third years, because like when you have the tournament, it's going to be a big ass fucking tournament that kind of like overrides a lot of school events and classes. But if the tournament is basically for the third years, like the third year classes are basically mostly free time anyway, so it won't really matter as much if it overwrites the classes then. Or students could have classes as normal in the mornings, and then the tournament stuff itself takes place in the second half of the day when they during club time, basically. Or since it's a dorm school, they can do all of the shit during the holiday period or something. I have a feeling that you are I disconnected. Hello? Am I back?
Yes.
Yeah, my Discord crashed. I can see you typing there now, but I think yeah, everything else is still working fine, so I was just speaking on my own. I don't know if you heard anything I said, but
After a few seconds, I unmuted to make sure that you were still on the stream. So I heard most of it.
yeah, that's funny. That's funny. But yeah. We'll flesh out the finer details of what happens when a little bit later, because I've briefly touched on the calendar year already, but the school year within that calendar year could be a little bit different too. But we'll figure it out.
Yeah. I suppose now it's time to read the cringe.
Please do.
The rickety wheels of the wagon bumped up and down along the road to Elm Glaze, each dip and round jerking the cart. Tears in the wagon's cloth tarp did little to shelter its passengers from the scorching sunlight of the clear afternoon sky. The sound of whinnies and horseshoes clopping against the uneven dirt blended with the ambient noises of chirping birds and summer insects. I can't do this voice because it's a gruff old man, but I'll try anyways. No, I won't. I'll just read it normally. I know, girl. Just a little longer now, gruff man said, patted the horse's hind quarter and added, "You'll get all the treats you want when we get there. I promise." The horse neighed. Her tail swayed back and forth as she powered forward. Inside the
Oh, my Discord has, for some reason, my Discord crashed again in the middle of that.
What was the last word you heard?
I heard your old man like spanking the horse on its rump.
It wasn't spanking, it was patting.
Right.
Reassuringly.
Yes.
The horse had been walking for a while. Anyways. Inside the wagon, a handful of passengers sat generously spaced out across the wooden benches that lined the inner perimeter of the cart. On the right, a rather gloomy young man they'd picked up a few roads back holding a stuffed satchel took up the entire side. When the other passengers tried to approach him, he would glare and mutter incoherent words under his breath, likely a string of curses. Now this is a fun little Easter egg because this guy actually does do curses. He's blessed with the curse magic.
I was gonna say, it'd be funny if like the MC or the relevant character in that scene wasn't the emo guy being all edgy and goth, but
He's not
it's
he's
the
not
one
the main character.
it's the one trying to talk to him.
Oh, it's not, but you'll see, you'll see.
It's the old man on the horse. That would be fucking
That would be a good
hilarious.
plot
I'm just
twist,
saying.
But no. The main
Hey,
character is
everyone
not
wants
the
an old man
person
protagonist. Be the one to give us them.
You know what? Maybe I write a spin-off of this
About
after
the
I'm
old
done
man.
about the old
And he's
man.
and he's literally just like a boring, ordinary old man. He's just living his daily life. And the story revolves around him just taking this weird ass, edgy ass people all around the world.
Or just the people he meets along the way as he's traveling the world.
The friends he met
In
along
his
the way.
retirement.
Yeah. And he used to be like a super fucking OP hero in his youth.
Oh. Or he's just an ordinary guy.
Yeah, all that.
Alright, back to the story. Back facing the driver, a pensive knight wearing a full set of armor stared out the open-faced exit with unwavering determination, hands gripping the sword wedged into the wooden planks beneath their spread legs. On the left, a cloaked figure slept curled up on the bench, a shield fastened to their back and a flail firmly in their grasp. Closest to the entrance, well, I guess I should put exit. I guess that's both those, so it doesn't really matter. Huh. Closest to the entrance, an elderly woman and her daughter engaged in light conversation, trying to ignore the eccentric strangers that the wagon owner, oop, I made a typo. Wagon owner managed to find. How much longer till we reach the city? Asked the daughter, a strained smile stretched across her face. My mother sighed and cupped her cheek with her hand. We left the forest 1,000 strides back. It shouldn't be more than a few hours from here. Oh, another typo. Yikes, used the wrong N. Or A. A-N. The daughter bit at her fingernails. Perilous scenarios flashing through her mind. What if we get attacked again? Beasts roam the plains this far out, don't they? The knight spoke up. Don't jinx it. The priest already had a deal with the bandits in the forest. They looked towards the sleeping priest. The glum young man chimed in on this ominously. Don't worry, they'll go for the horse first. He narrowed his bloodshot eyes at the knight. Which brings me back to earlier. Why didn't you step in? Those ruffians had me surrounded. I could have been killed. The knight shrugged. The priest had it under control. Besides, why would I save some suspicious stranger? I value my life more than that. Where is your sense of chivalry? Your honor? He asked, baffled by the knight's answer. They might have gone for the woman next. Will honor keep me alive? Is that sword and armor just for show? Why were you dilly-dallying through the forest alone? The woman's daughter tried to speak up to de-escalate the situation, but quickly found herself cut off. Guys, let's not argue amongst ourselves. We're almost... I could say the same to you. It's rather odd that a knight in full gear was frolicking about in the woods. Your armor looks rather clean for being in a monster-infested area. The knight scoffed. I was taking a piss break from guarding the cart. What were you doing? Dealing drugs to the bandits and they try to scam you or something? The priest groaned and stirred in his sleep from the commotion. Calm down, you two, or I'll drop you both off here and let you fend for yourselves, warned the driver. The mother and daughter sighed in relief at the gruff man's interference. Reluctantly, the two stopped arguing, unsaid comebacks racing through their minds. For the rest of the ride, the knight and the young man glared at each other, causing the wagon to fall into a tense silence. Yeah, that's it so far.
Good for you, buddy. I'm proud of you.
What's that supposed to mean?
Nothing. Good job.
Thanks? Question mark?
Yes, you're welcome. And meanwhile, I've just taken a bit of notes down in terms of magic theory, which will cover magic law, health and safety, and the history of magic more than anything, such as telling students about like the whens, wheres, and whys of where they can use magic for what purpose and how with who or whatever. As well as how to perform magic safely so they don't blow themselves up, or if they do blow themselves up or see someone else blow themselves up, they know how to handle the situation and mitigate the damage, things like that. And history of magic will just be like how it was discovered, who the originators or progenitors of it were, what they did with it, how they taught it and spread it, and how it's influenced and shaped society. That's the Daniel class?
He likes history.
Mm.
Not for me.
Yeah, tell him and his pack of friends to follow me because I need to regain affiliate with the new channel here.
Can. Just ping Daniel.
I mean, I could, since he technically owes him, since I helped teach him how to wingman his true friends to get them together. But I can't be fucked.
Yeah, not can I. We talk like every once in a while, maybe, when he sends me a meme.
Yeah. Do you want to have a closer relationship with your brother?
Yeah. I'm indifferent.
Sibling love. Okay. In any case, that is technically the first 2 semesters of classes we kind of generalize. So now we have the 3rd semester, which is the basics of magic, specifically magic flow, magic circles, and pronunciation. So this is a bit...
All the people with the speech impediments, magic pronunciation class?
Again, that's why there's a class for it, because it doesn't matter how you pronounce it, technically.
Right,
that's why there is a class for it. But,
what do they teach in that class then, if it's not pronunciation of the...
So, it's basically educating people on how and why pronunciation matters for the casting of a spell, but also at the same time why it doesn't matter. So it's basically saying, hey, if you utter a word when you want to trigger your spell, it helps you time the activation of what it is you're trying to accomplish, and the word you utter helps you kind of visualize the intention of what you're trying to accomplish. But it's basically just like a trigger that helps as a catalyst. So it can make it easier to learn magic, it can make magic more effective, and it can make magic easy to learn as well. But like the top tier advanced mages probably don't bother doing it at all to a greater effect. But that's because they're like super ancient archwitch prodigies and all that other shit. So you've probably got those like a few of those cool edgy students who probably try to like create a fireball and magic duels, but rather than like creating a fireball and launching it and having it explode on the other side of the arena where the opponent is, they're the types who accidentally explode them in their face and become the laughing stock of the school.
Oh no. Zan would have a field day with the chin build.
Oh, he would. He would.
Wording.
I'm assuming he went to bed as well.
He did. He did say he wanted to go to bed by, what was it, 2:30?
And what time is it for you now?
Almost 3:30.
3:30
Oh,
a.m.
you
for
know
you,
what? Yes,
and it's
yes.
5:20 p.m. for me.
Anyway,
Anyway, we aren't going
he
to
also
talk
said
about
something
your...
about his parents sleeping next door, so he didn't want to
Oh,
talk because apparently they're not happy with him staying up late.
they're just not happy with him in general.
That too, you know what? So true.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard about his daddy issues, but hey, who doesn't have daddy issues? My daddy's a cripple. But in any case, magic pronunciation. So yeah, we kind of talked about it briefly there. So let's expand on this here. Magic pronunciation is the art of manifesting your will into reality. While the pronunciation of key/magic words to be triggers to activate spells technically aren't necessary. Pronunciation is the art to help mages visualize their magic before in order to manifest it appropriately. Assigning names to spells and pronouncing them as intended can make teaching and learning spellcraft all the more easier. Because yeah, like, because imagine if you're like trying to teach someone how to cast a fireball, and rather than telling you it's a fireball, there's no name for it, and they just say, now you circle the fire into a spherical shape and you shoot it forth. And like, while that would be effective, it is words carry meaning, and by simply saying that the word fireball, it conveys the meaning of a spherical ball of fire without having to articulate it as such. So it's a very effective method for teaching spellcraft, essentially, even if they're not technically even spells, like in the Harry Potter sense.
Right.
It's literally something with the capacity to do, can do it any way, any form, any time. But this is, yeah, just helping them get to that point.
Fine.
Alrighty. The other hand, we have magic circles. So, magic circles are the medium through which magic is possible. By utilizing the mana in the environment, mages can draw with mana by utilizing their mind to influence mana directly, like a muscle. This allows them to weave mana into a pattern or shape which changes the meaning of the environment around them, influencing the natural laws, states, and properties of the world, and bending them to the mage's will. This involves, let's do an example. Drawing in the heat and the atmosphere and concentrating it on a single point to generate significantly larger amounts of heat than normal. This is why the environment is important for the mage. Some natural environments influence certain branches of magic more than others. Cool. What do you think of that?
Huh?
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, I was zoned out.
Yes, you were listening very intently,
Starting
lisping on
the
my every
scene of-
word.
Oh no. It's okay, I can catch it by reading it.
I haven't mentioned this yet, but basically what I intend on doing is once I've fleshed out like a bunch of this world in greater detail, and I come up with like a finalized concept for certain areas, like the magic school itself. I'm basically gonna get a script written and do like a full-on, fully produced video essay of this part of the world that has been built, and basically uploading that as a YouTube video on the channel.
Okay. Fun,
And
like little history lore dump.
yes, so I'd say like
Definitely
any
help with the fanfic making.
yes, so any kind of individual world segment, such as like the magic school, will be like maybe a 15 to 45-minute video, depending on how long that is. And then kind of when I've kind of finished like everything within like a certain region or nation, then I might do like a full video for a nation, which could maybe like be a condensed summary of like an hour and a half long. And from there, maybe I could even consider doing like a continental wide one, which will probably be a bit longer. I'm not quite as in depth, and kind of just expands on the relationships between these different powers, if anything, more so. Then finally, like the ultimate goal is to have one with a worldview as a whole, at large, basically. And who knows, there'll be like a 4 to 6 hour epic. Yeah. No, that's kind of how I would like to structure this eventually. So the thing is though, to be able to do that, I can't just complete that thing then move on while having the video ready for it, because I'm going to have to finish other parts in other worlds for the original thing like the magic school to actually be finished, because I can't really correlate the relationship properly with other areas. Those other areas don't really exist outside of concepts that haven't been written down yet.
Same with even just visuals for the video as well.
Yeah, no, I'd get like full-on
audio podcast.
Full-on music, full-on visuals, like flickering flames and like mountain peaks and clashing of swords and all that shit.
Sort of.
Ching ching. Yes. Alright. In any case,
I just
mana.
using
What?
voiced over fanfics of this world too, with also video.
Hey, I mean, you can do your own thing and do that if you want. Also, you can come up with characters and put them in the world. Who knows? Maybe we'll use some.
Oh no.
Oh yes. In any case, mana flow. Mana flow is the conduit via how mana is manifested into magic. While mana itself may not necessarily flow through human beings, they still have the capability to influence it by concentrating their minds. Mages are able to manipulate the mana in the air around them, not too different as to swishing one's hand through air or water. With that said, seeing or sensing mana is something that one has to have an innate talent for, which needs to be developed early. The Mana Flow class teaches mages how to make the mind to muscle connection to both see, sense, and influence the permeate mana in the atmosphere. It also educates students as to the biology of maybe magical beasts which have mana coursing through their veins, allowing them to uniquely specialize in some innate form of magic. Some rare species of creatures, such as elves or dragons, are capable of utilizing magic effectively, regardless of environment, using their own internal mana reserves. So we'll say humans don't have mana for this purpose. But yeah, maybe some other races do, because I haven't really fully expanded or fleshed out how I want certain things like elves or whatnot to work. But I do have somewhat of an idea for some things, like we mentioned earlier before, like how we might have some kind of charged stone cave or like electrified magnetism, which has a very strong electromagnetic mana in the environment, which is basically just an electromagnetic field. And creatures that kind of live in those natural habitats have had that kind of influencing them all throughout their lives, which gives them the natural ability to influence those fields like magic, just despite like not necessarily having intelligence. It's more of an instinctual thing. But yeah, that's something we might carve out a bit more in the environmental stage when we actually start like designing dungeons and shit in the worldview at large.
Dungeons. How sadistic are you?
How sadistic do you want me to be?
I mean, it's your world, your choice.
I mean, tell me what you're thinking.
For dungeons? Well, I didn't have anything in specific just yet.
Yes.
But I do love a good torturing of characters.
Yes, I know what you do. Well, the thing is, I'm not really thinking about characters or story as of this present moment. I'm creating this world first because I don't necessarily want to tell the stories of characters myself, since this is intended to be like a TTRPG setting. We'll create stories for characters to experience rather than the stories of creating the stories of characters directly, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Can there be like a really hellish, sadistic dungeon that's like super hard to clear? Not impossible?
Basically, it might not necessarily be a dungeon, but I've mentioned briefly how I want to have like some kind of abyss for demons, and there's going to be like 72 or 74 great demons or something who each have their own domain or layer of the abyss, and the theoretical concept is for adventurers to clear each and every single one of those layers, and I'd say each of those layers would be like a level of Undermountain or something. So rather than 23, it's basically Undermountain times 3.
Okay.
But in terms of like balancing and level progression and all that, that might be an entirely different story. Because it wouldn't really make sense for a level 1 adventure party to be able to like get through the first level of the Abyss, which brings into the question of like what level would they need to be to get in? Maybe like level 3 at minimum for the first layer. But if that is the case, like how do you progress up to the 72nd layer? But I'm thinking the thing is, like, even though adventurers should theoretically be able to become as powerful as they want, I don't know if regular humans will ever break the boundaries of like full-on gods or deities or divine creatures and shit like that. So I'd say rather than like an adventurer party on their own, taking down like the king of all demons, I'd say maybe they do like a full-on worldly invasion of these other realms of like 100 other adventure parties in tandem with their own, and they like hunt down the big bads together.
The big bads.
Yes. So that gives reason to have like a full party of like level 9 adventurers be able to go on this adventure to kill the demon king. But they alone might not necessarily be enough, so they have like a couple of other parties with them. So it just helps in terms of making the biggest threats actually feel like big threats, and that's why they've ruled for so long. It's not possible for someone to just come in and kick their ass willy-nilly.
Looking for a low-level demon to call himself the big bad?
I mean, there'd probably be some kind of fucking imp that does that somewhere, I imagine.
And then role plays as like a whole powerful demonic being.
Yeah.
You dare defy me? A big bat?
And it's that thing where he's hearing this like gruff voice and seeing this like really big shadow, but then you turn around the corner and you pull back the curtain and it's just the tiny little imp by the candle.
Perfect.
Like Wizard of Oz style.
He could terrorize people. He could be the oh fuck, what's it called? Paralysis demon.
Jesus Christ. Sure, why not?
Yay.
But basically, I'm planning for like there to be like a unique race of demon per layer of the hells. So yeah, well, I'll get to that when we get to it though. So next up is magic fundamentals. So this is how people actually use magic. So magic processing speed, magic density, and magic capacity. So these are like what determine, or not necessarily how to use magic. That's more so the other, the basics we just went over. These are more so like how one becomes a strong mage, if that makes sense. The measure of your might. So we have magic processing speed. This is the speed through which a mage may influence
How fast can you solve this
the
physics equation?
mana slash environment around them to produce a magical effect. Now, no, I'm still swapping between like mage and wizard or whatever in terms of terminology, but I don't necessarily know what I kind of want to call the magic, the physicist magic class yet, if that makes sense. So I'm probably going to put off naming that kind of stuff till a lot later on, because I need to make comparisons with other classes as we kind of develop them, because there could be some similar magic systems and similar like schools of thought, even though they work completely differently. So I need to make sure I use the right names for them. Okay, next up is magic density. This field represents the amount of mana, or the density of mana one can weave. This manifests itself as to how strong one's spells are. Example, more dense fireballs cause bigger explosions with more intense heat and flames that burn more and for longer. Then magic capacity determines how much one can influence with mana / magic at any one given time. For example, how big of an area of effect a spell can have, how large of a target one can influence, how many targets at once one can influence, etc. So I think that's a pretty like good balanced methodological word system.
Yes.
Yeah, that is the first year of classes. So I think that's a pretty good.
Only 2 more to go.
Yeah, so that's a good basic foundation for how magic works and learning how to use it. So they're not really doing anything specialized yet, but that's because they're not meant to be doing anything specialized yet. You gotta have the foundation before you do the other shit.
Little oily, crusty teenagers.
Yes. Okay. With that said, next up will be the practical application of magic. And this is basically just going to be learning the basics of how the 4 classifications of magic work, i.e. learning basic spells in quotes for thermodynamics, kinematics, optics, and acoustics, and electromagnetism. So, I think a fun little exercise that you and I can do right now is to come up with ideas for what a basic spell in each of these schools might look like.
Oh.
I imagine like thermodynamics will be something as simple as like heating or cooling something.
Hot air, cold air.
Well, the thing is,
like
air is a bit intangible. So I think for students learning, seeing something visibly before them that they can influence would be good. So I think even just like heating or cooling water. Water would be a good
spell to boil water.
Yes. So the thing is, with like newbie students who basically have no idea what they're doing, if you have them simply like heating or cooling water, they should still be able to tell like a difference between room temperature, but it'll also be very, very apparent to students, like who is more talented than whoever else. Because if you heat it up enough, it's going to boil. Yes.
Minimally dangerous activity.
Yes. So you'll be able to see them, like the good ones, like boiling or freezing water, in comparison to like lukewarm or slight chill. So I like the idea of that. I think kinematics will just be like rolling a marble along a flat surface. Something like that. Optics can be like lighting a lamp, like the self-lighting lamps. Acoustics can be projecting one's voice.
Oh, that would be a loud-ass class.
And electromagnetism can be levitating a coin. I mean, you'd think it would be a loudest class, but since they're all fucking noobs, they might not even do a good job of it in the first place. Like they could potentially make their voices quieter by accident. And these exercises are good because, like with thermodynamics, you have heating or cooling water. With kinematics, you have rolling a marble along a flat surface / stopping a marble in motion, lighting a lamp / delighting a lamp, acoustics projecting one's voice / quieting
in a way,
one's voice.
It's very similar to the magic in daily life applications, just on a smaller scale.
Yeah, so it's things that they should be familiar with. Like this is learning how the basics of how those technologies work, essentially. So, electromagnetism. So we got the levitating a coin, but I kind of want an exercise that has like two halves of a whole similar to the others, if that makes sense. So we kind of need something on the... Okay, no, I've got an idea. Rather than levitating, let's say attracting a metallic coin / repelling a metallic coin.
There's definitely got to be a warning for that class to not wear any kind of metal.
To not accidentally like shoot coins like bullets, like a railgun.
Or like to accidentally pull your earrings out of your ear.
Yeah.
Doing it to other people's ears.
Yeah. Hell, that'll be where the health and safety magic course comes in, which is why they do that first. So I imagine
definitely not listen to that though.
Yeah, honestly, how fun does that sound? In all honesty, like you're there.
Earring pulled out?
No, not that part, but the exercises themselves. Like you're there with your fellow students doing your first class, and you each roll a d20. One of you rolls a 10, and you manage to levitate the coin without really shooting it forward. When you get to 15, so you shoot the coin forward. When it gets to 5, so you kind of get it into the air, but it kind of just falls down on its own. You can't maintain the levitation. Whoever gets a 1, just destroys the coin or fails to accomplish anything at all. And the nat 20 literally just shoots the coin out like a fucking railgun.
That would be fun.
Because I feel like that as an introductory exercise for getting into these different kinds of magic. Regardless of the players have like an idea or an interest of what kind of specialty they want to have at that point, I would say doing well or doing poorly on whichever exercise is a good lead into kind of bringing them towards what specialty they may want to have or what weakness they may want to have. If that makes sense.
More proficient in.
And then you get that one asshole who gets a nat 20 on every roll who just becomes like a prodigy, and there's rumors going all around the school. Oh, have you heard about Francis? He is a prodigy, he can do anything. And then he gets nothing but nat ones throughout the rest of school.
Or there's the reverse.
Mm.
Someone who only got nat ones in the practical classes.
Or
this
the student who fails intentionally, getting nat ones throughout all of their exercises. Then when the tournament comes, no one's expecting anything of them, and they stop like failing intentionally, and they just like kick ass. Sounds like a lot of fun to me.
A lot of things you can do with this kind of ideas, or
for sure. The more we kind of work on this, the more I love it.
Right?
This is
the more fan fiction ideas I'm coming up with.
Yeah. All right, and second semester is magic engineering.
Engineering.
So this will kind of expand on the basics that they learnt in the first class, I reckon. That rather than like activating or deactivating like a magic lantern which already has a magic circle, for instance, this is like creating their own magic circle on a lantern.
Okay.
So yeah, I might take a quick note on the previous one to say practical magic application utilizes magic artifacts which already have magic circles engraved on them that require the students to activate.
Would these magic circles be visible to the students? Or is it a more...
I'd say, yeah, magic circles will be visible.
They're getting a chance
to study them as well, yes.
Yes, yeah.
Allows students to study with magic artifacts with already existing magic circles. So now that brings to a question that needs to be addressed, because yes, these guys, magic engineering is a thing that allows magic artifacts to be used. Question is, basically, since we're having humans basically not have mana themselves, but the ability to influence or move mana, the concern in this case is, can a regular human use magic engineering devices, or does a mage still have to be the one to use them?
Ooh.
Because I'm thinking it kind of makes sense for only mages to be able to use them.
It would also make mages just that much more valuable.
Yes, because even though the magic circle is already there, basically the magic circle itself is no different to a catalyst or a fuel source. The power comes from the environment. The mage is the activator of the magic, not the creator of it, essentially. So yeah, no, I think it makes sense for regular humans not to be able to do that, because it's the mind to muscle connection of seeing and sensing this mana to really kind of flow it to where you want it to be. So I'd say they basically fill in the magic circle that is there, the template of a magic circle, with mana to activate it.
Yeah.
And all of these little exercises here will involve like a glass with water, a marble, a lamp, a coin. All of those objects that can have the magic circle engraved on them, but I need to come up with something else for acoustics. Yes?
Yeah, just for that. The marble thing kind of gives them a little glance at 3D chess as well.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yes,
So
acoustic.
for acoustics, we're going to say amplifying the sound produced by a object or dampening the sound produced by an object. So we'll
Yeah.
come up with some kind of like speaker for this, but we'll come up with some kind of like actual name or whatever for them, if that makes
Maybe
sense.
like some kind of synchronized music box in a way, so that everyone's music box is playing the same sound at the same time, so that the sound itself
Mm.
is one,
Yeah.
but then each student can change their own individual one's volume.
Yeah. No, I get that. Cool. Right, in Magic Engineering, we'll be creating the actual magic circles for it. Learning the basics of how to create a magic artifact generally involves the engraving of a magic circle on an artifact.
I was wondering why you were
Used.
typing after you said something, and then I realized that the stream is not synced to the
Yes.
ongoing voice that I'm hearing. Like, why are you typing so
Correct.
slow?
Correct.
This might be around where I dip, though.
Yeah,
Starting to get a
no.
little antsy in my pantsies.
Yeah, it's fine. I was just thinking it's closing in on dinner time for me, so I'm just gonna start preheating this oven now. And so I'll keep going for another half hour or so while I wait for things to cook. But yeah, no. It's what, 4 o'clock for you?
Yeah, I'll probably just be rotting in bed reading manhwa, trying to
Good.
sleep.
Good job. Well, feel free to keep listening if it helps you sleep. If not, I will see you sometime this weekend.
Sometime.
Cool.
Alright.
Adios. Bye bye. Alrighty. Well, as mentioned, I'm gonna keep going for now with my viewer counter as 0. As we kind of expand on these artifacts here. Mage Adepts will create the magic circles of the magic artifacts they use to practice magic within the foundation of magic or application of magic class. Cool, so I'm just going to go ahead and grab this as a reference. And we'll retype this out. Okay, so a metallic coin which can be attracted / repelled. And the beauty with these objects is they basically have enough surface area to be able to have different circles on different sides of these objects too. Like, so each side of a coin or each kind of side of a glass, and they'll probably be big enough to be able to engrave the circle on properly. So they might be a bit larger than normal. So a speaker for acoustics, which can have its sound amplified or dampened. Then a lamp, a marble, and a glass. So we might not necessarily use like an actual lamp. It might be some smaller ball or something. Maybe they're all some kind of marble or coin shape, but no, I think that's good. So just a reminder, these classes are intended to be like the basics of the basics, just to teach the foundation of how all this different stuff works, and then they have their free time classes, clubs outside of the standard classes, which they can express their creativity with a bit more freely. So now we are going to have combat magic. And this will be the one that they're all bloody waiting for. So we need to come up with a basic combat spell idea for each kind of magic branch. So, on the off chance that anyone is watching, feel free to type some ideas in chat for me there as we kind of work through this. So, I'll take a note down here. Combat magic class is the basics of one's first combat magic spell. Generally covers safer, less damaging, less things can go horribly wrong types of magic. So, thermodynamics, we want some basic kind of learning how to light a flame, learning how to freeze some form of water. Kinematics is interesting because it can basically be learning how to accelerate one's speed, and I need a bit of a refresher here in terms of how kinematics works. So let me look up something. Because I know kinematics is all about like motion and whatnot, but the question is how much it can influence force, if that makes sense. So it's like displacement, velocity, speed, acceleration. That's all well known. Let's just say learning how to stop living creatures' movements. That might be a bit advanced for this kind of basic purpose. Same with even accelerating one's speed, really, but it's rather than one speed, learning how to accelerate objects. Speed. So this will be kind of building atop what they were learning in the basic application of magic class. Because back then, all they were really doing is rolling a marble at a slower speed, but now they're basically taking the limiter off and saying, hey, yeah, make it go as fast as you can, as quickly as you can. How would we want to apply that on the opposite end? So before we were kind of mentioning like how to stop a marble. we should probably start simpler and say slowing a marble in motion. Because now we can say up here, learning how to stop a moving object. For example, an arrow being shot at them. So combat magic isn't necessarily just going to be offensive magic. There's going to be utility, there's going to be variety, there's going to be like defense and support and things like that. So, don't mind me, I'm just fishing out my dinner while I talk. Yeah, no, I kind of like the idea of that. Okay. So we're also going to have optics and acoustics as well as electromagnetism. So we kind of touched base before on how optics and acoustics could be like a very illusory school, if that makes sense. And I kind of like leaning that vibe a lot more, especially since they probably want to teach fresh magic students a lot less dangerous magic. So in terms of like the bending of light and the amplification or dispersion of sound in particular, I imagine we're not going to be going for a full-on invisibility scale at this point, but more so maybe some form of camouflage or producing like a disorientating sound or something like that. Maybe like a flashbang. I guess that's the biggest thing that comes to mind. A brief flash to basically briefly blind a potential threat, along with the sound to momentarily deafen them. I think that's going to be the way we go about it here. So I'll write that down once I finish peppering my chips. I'm gonna have a salty meal tonight. Outside of that, let me think. Electromagnetism is much scarier sounding because, as mentioned before, we do have like getting a metallic coin and basically creating a railgun, but that is like some lethal ass magic for a newbie to be generating. So I'm thinking instead perhaps we can have some form of maybe some kind of shock or paralysis with some kind of electrification. That might be a bit more reasonable at this stage, I would say. Let me just take down these ones for optics and acoustics first. So we'll say flash, momentarily blind a target, and bang, momentarily deafen / disorient a target. Cool. An electromag can be shock, briefly stun a target, as well as something more on the mag spectrum rather than like electro. Let's think for a moment here. So, I imagine in this world, there'll be like a lot of knights and shining armor and arrows and whatnot, so I'm thinking we'll take repel to the next level, so deflect incoming swords, arrows, etc. This is definitely going to be the Magneto class for anyone who wants to be fucking Magneto in this world. Cool. No, I think that's pretty good because again, how this system's gonna work is it's literally gonna be the extent of one's imaginations, but yeah, level itself will kind of limit the potency of these kinds of magic that these students can essentially produce or use. So I'm thinking, yeah, we kind of touched base earlier on like on a bit of how that's gonna go. So like with the mana application process, for example, being like how many targets or how large of a target you can kind of influence at any kind of one given time. That's probably going to be the direct measure of a wizard's level. So I'd say it's like cultivation in a sense. So becoming a more powerful mage isn't necessarily a matter of like using any kind of one given school any more than the others. It's your ability to influence mana itself, rather than just like creating a shit ton of fire. You can create a shit ton of fire because of how much better you get controlling mana. So that is going to be the basic core fundamental of how all of these kind of mages work. Just all that mana flow and mana manipulation, etc., etc. Cool, and that'll create like a good like level scaling for how all that's going to work. And now we have magic creativity. This is basically just going to be say, hey, well you can use magic for science and combat, you can also use it for the arts, and this will probably be more relevant to basically not using these skills of magic in the way that they're intended to be designed. It's basically gonna give students the option to play and experiment and try new things and just see how what works when you apply it in different ways. And this will kind of lean a bit into the creative aspects we mentioned before. So it's not just producing ice, it's shaping ice. So sculpting ice sculptures, for example, or like bending, twirling, eating fire. Then we also have motion, like influencing the body's movements. Example, becoming flexible, athletic, gymnastics and acrobatics / dance. And optics and acoustics, creating visual light shows, amplifying pleasant sounds / creating music through magic. Ironically enough, like I don't know if we're gonna have a bard class in this worldview, but if you do have a bard, they're probably gonna be like an not autistic, an acoustics specialized mage more than anything. But yeah, maybe I might do something with like actual bards at some point, like the power of song or dance as an actual magic rather than as a byproduct of magic. Because I think language and like movement are very important notions as to like the power of people, which is why they're such expressive art forms there as well. And yeah, so electromag. What did we do for the electromag? Club or activity. Okay, so that's basically just like sculptures as well, but with like objects that already exist. So creating something out of something that already exists. So it's like the opposite in terms of like ice sculpting. Whereas ice sculpting you probably like whittle down an ice block a bit more. Manipulating electromagnetic metal to create moving, living, interactable art exhibits / sculptures / experiences, because that's what it's really going to be, an experience. Okay, and that's pretty much the second year foundation complete. So once they've actually like learned how to use magic, how to apply magic, how to use a basic spell as intended, they are then taken outside of that box that they've been brought up in. They stare inside the box from outside and bend their techniques in ways that they've never had the opportunity to really do before. Yeah, but then we have the final year. So I'm gonna expand on that there. So we had magic engineering or combat magic, but we should also add or creative magic. And they will have the option of theory or practical for that, and yeah, I mean these ones themselves aren't necessarily going to be classes that they learn specific things in. I'd say more so, if anything, it's really going to be a lot of self-learning, I'd say. So similar to how like up until that point, they basically kind of always had someone to teach them. Now they're pretty much having like all that free time. So it's more similar to like a full-time club, if anything, but rather than convening with other students, they can have the capacity to go off on their own, do their own thing, etc., etc. So in that case, I don't think I really need to expand on those, but I'll put a little note at the bottom here. Just kind of say, essentially, free time. And I'd say in that case, that's where a lot of the events are probably going to also come to play. So like the first semester, maybe we have the maybe that's when we do like field trips and tournaments, etc., etc. Field trip, what was it? Tournament, combat tournament with knights, sport tournament, creative arts festival. Yeah, no, that kind of fits pretty well there. Yeah, that's a very good structure, I feel. Alrighty. Well, I think that's pretty good there. So I've already kind of mentioned before, I'm going to come up with like an actual curriculum for like what these students are going to learn and when, with who and where or whatever. But before we do that, there's something very important we need. We need teachers or professors. So we are going to come up with a professor for each like school of magic or each kind of class. and we are going to have one for everything. So one teacher per class per school of magic, etc. So we'll have maybe one per class who the teacher's in charge of the class, and then we'll have like more advanced teachers who basically specifically oversee the free time learning of the third years, and they're probably like more so like the principal slash the dean slash the heads of magic for that department or whatever, who basically make themselves available for students' questions and everything else like that. So I think that is going to be a lot of fun there. So that'll be... So I think that's going to be at least 12. And I think that's a pretty reasonable number. It's enough to have like a good variety, but not enough to be overwhelming. Because I know it feels like it's not really a lot when you think about a real school. There'll probably be a lot less students here in comparison to a real school as well. And basically I kind of like the idea that since it's going to be a very gameplay kind of thing, like TTRPG, where the players actually have to interact with these guys and remember who they are and everything else, I sincerely doubt if we have more than this, or like multiple teachers per subject, they're just not going to know who the fuck is who. So I think this is a good way to do it. And this kind of ties in well with the clubs as well. So we can have like the magic engineering teacher who not only teaches the classes but also like heads up the club. So I think that's a very good way of doing it. So we'll have the thermodynamics professor slash dean of whatever, the kinematics professor, dean of whatever, the optics and acoustics professor, who was also a dean of whatever, and the electromagnetism professor was the dean of whatever. So I kind of like the idea of maybe the electromagnetism professor, especially being maybe like the dean of the school at large as a whole, especially given like the major role that electromagnetism has on the city. And I'd say we want these to be like knowledgeable, more elderly, more affluent individuals who have contributed significantly to society in somehow. So maybe this is the guy who's kind of come up with the electromag levitating kind of rail slash pod system we briefly spoke about a bit earlier. And maybe thermodynamics guy is more of a combat specialist. Kinematics more of a sports guy, and this one here can be the creative's head. So we got the head of and we need one for engineering. So if he's like based on that earlier example, if he's like the one who came up with the maglev rail system, like being like the head of engineering also makes a lot of sense, just with how these systems will work, and he can be in charge of the school itself too. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'll have I'm gonna have to revisit that later on in terms of like the classes as well, because they may not necessarily teach the base classes. I was just thinking of things with like how there's going to be like sports and clubs and creative arts. There's not necessarily going to be a teacher for those in particular within like the confines of the school classes themselves. So it kind of makes a bit more sense to have these troopers head up those sections as well. But yeah, we will get there when we kind of get there. Well, with that said, I think I've made some pretty good progress there for now. I'm going to take probably a solid break for dinner, at least a half hour to an hour, and then I might come back a little bit more this evening to continue with the creation of these professors. So we're not going to go super in-depth or detail into the full-on like identities of these people in general. Just similar to the classes, we're going to do a bit of a quick pass over and get a solid idea of who or what we want, and then we can figure out the rest from there. Because again, there are going to be fantasy races in this world, so not everyone is going to necessarily be a human. So we're going to leave some elements like that for a little later on, I'll say. But yeah, that's it for now. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you soon. Bye bye for now.